the realistic expectations? Online gaming, for instance, everybody said this is going to be the next big thing out of India and so on and so forth. And look where we are today, at an impasse where the industry finds itself staring at an existential crisis, largely on account of the regulatory changes. And that seems to be happening across different sectors, digital lending with the RBI changing the rules. A little bit of the opportunity expected is being reined in there as well. So given the regulatory risks as well as the past divergence we've seen between market size and monetization, what should the realistic expectations be?
India has a twin engine innovation ecosystem. Okay, one engine is innovating for India, and what we are seeing there is an acceleration across every sector, right? You saw Mamaearth going public. Today there are over 1,000 new consumer brands just in our portfolio at Peak 15 and Surge. We have close to 20 brands now that cut across beauty, beauty and personal care, food, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just one part of it, right? You can look at travel, you can look at healthcare, you can look at education. Nitin talked about financial services, which is a very, very large opportunity, and so on, including climate. So that's sort of innovating for India. I think the second India's innovation engine is really innovating for the world. So instead of innovating for the $3.5 trillion Indian economy, right, Indian entrepreneurs are now innovating for the $100 trillion global economy, right? So let me start with that second leg, because last year, 40% of new seed-funded companies in India were building for the world from day zero. And this year, at the end of December, we'll have the final number. This year, that number is over 40%, right? So I don't know whether we'll get to 50% or not, but certainly over 40% of new seed-funded companies in India are building for the world from day zero. And the number one theme there is AI, right? So if you look at venture capital and startups around the world, the number one theme in the world has been AI. And I think we are very, very encouraged, Shireen, to see the caliber and the quality of the AI startups that are, beginning to be built in India. Either this year or next year, we're going to tip over where Indian entrepreneurs from day zero are going to innovate for the world. If you look at sort of a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year horizon, right, having a well-regulated ecosystem actually, leads to positive things. So Shireen, we can't be more bullish. We're more bullish than we've ever been. You see it actually not in what we say, but in the kind of companies that we invest in. And what we're seeing now is sort of an unprecedented level of innovation. And a lot of it now is IP-driven innovation that India's never seen before.
Rajan, before I get Nitin to comment on that, since you said that you've never been as bullish as you are today, what is that going to mean in terms of the number of checks that you intend to write out in 2024? What's the expectation? As part of Surge, you've already invested in 25 startups that are focused on AI. What's the visibility on the back of the conversations that you've been having so far on what 2024 holds, the promise it holds?
Fortunately, we don't have quotas on how many companies we're going to invest in or the amount of capital we're going to deploy, okay? We have 20,000 crores of dry powder as Peak 15, and we will invest in extraordinary founders who are trying to build very large businesses, right? And we will invest in them at very early stages, which is, where Surge comes in. We will invest in them, once they've got to PMF, which is our venture business, as well as at growth stages, right? A company that's got PMF, that's got terrific traction, that's got great unit economics. So I think, what entrepreneurs in India should know is our ecosystem has never had this much dry powder. You just had $20 billion up, on the screen, right? That is 1.6 lakh crore, right, of capital that is waiting to be invested in startups. We will invest in the best founders who are building the most interesting companies, and we'll do it across stages, from seed to venture through growth.
Well, that's directionally, clear guidance that's come in there from Rajan. So, Nitin, let me ask you two questions to Rajan's point there on the inflection point, the tipping over, so to speak, in the next 12 to 24 months on Indian founders being able to create companies and products that are truly made for the world. your thesis on that aspiration, and secondly, on the twin engines that Rajan spoke about, innovating for India as well as innovating for the world. Within the bets that you're making, and you're sitting on 1,000 crores of dry powder as well, where do you intend to spend what on?
Yeah, I would see the what we are chasing is a little different, as in, so we are kind of mostly chasing founders who are building for India, because we're not, like I said, right, as in the overall theme is help Indians do better with money, help Indians do better with health, and help climate in India. So, so while what Rajan is saying is absolutely true, but that's not really what we are kind of focusing on. We are focusing for Indians building for India, and but Rajan is absolutely right. The quality of the founders today is just, I mean, over the last 2-3 years, it's just improved significantly. I mean, products across the board, not just in financial services, but across the board. Even in some of the health startups that we are, we have partnered, the quality of products is awesome, I mean, and I don't see why they can't scale internationally if they started focusing on it. And yeah, so but coming back to your question, we are mostly thinking of India as such.
Okay, you're looking at companies that are focused on the Indian market. I started by asking Rajan about the transition that they've seen from Sequoia to Peak 15. Let me ask you about what's happening on your front, Nitin. There's a lot of talk around a payment bank license. Is that on the anvil? Is that on the cards?
See, the thing is, one of the pieces which is broken in our business is really is the fact that our customer can't use the money funds lying with us for payments, right? And there are regulations today that require us to send money back to the customer, once every 30 days. So it is kind of a broken experience. If we could solve for it, we would love to attempt it, but getting a banking license in India is probably the hardest thing to do. So and we don't have lending ambitions. So yeah, so I mean, it's something that we're thinking about, saying what's the right way to go about this. Yeah, but if coming back to your question, if a payment bank license was available on tap, I think we would have applied for it.
You would apply for it. Well, it is available on tap. I mean, you can exercise that route and that option, Nitin. But let me end then by asking both of you. Rajan, I'll ask you, 2024, the year of IPOs, in light of the experience that we've seen with Paytm, Zomato, and of course now Mamaearth, you believe that there is more reasonable expectation in terms of how IPOs should be priced, and hence, a better listing expected?
Yeah, absolutely, Shireen. Look, I think two things are very clear, right? One, to list in the Indian exchange, you have to be profitable. We sort of tell our early stage founders that it used to be, if you're a startup, you focus on getting to $100 million of net revenue. I think that's still important, but the more important number is at least 100 crores of EBITDA, right? So if you can get to that, you have a possibility of going public. You don't have to get to that if you're, a company like IdeaForge, but for many others, at least 100 crores of EBITDA, ideally 200 or 300 crores of EBITDA. So I think that's become very clear. The other thing that has become very clear is that you have to be reasonably priced, right? You have to be fairly priced, I should say, right? You've got to price your IPO fairly. And I think what we're seeing, Shireen, is a very, very strong pipeline of companies. You had a couple of names on the screen there as we started. But the reality is, if you look at the 100+ unicorns in India, already easily 40% of them are profitable, which means that more will get profitable over the next year. But at least half of those sets of companies have now easily crossed that threshold of 100, 200 crores of EBITDA. So starting 2024, in many ways, I think Mamaearth has sort of started this new wave of IPOs, and I think these companies, number one, will be profitable, and I think number two will be fairly priced.
Nitin, let me end by asking you, of the unicorns that are potentially looking at a listing or maybe a couple of years away from a listing, which are the ones that excite you, the ones that you have the the most confidence on? And of course, they're not part of your portfolio, but just within the ecosystem, your thoughts on the ones that stand out for you?
I mean, the ones that you just mentioned, Swiggy, Ola, Pine Labs, I think, I mean, all of them actually are, I actually use Swiggy quite a bit. So, I mean, it'd be nice to have them list. And also, IPOs act as a way to broaden the capital market participation and stuff. So the kind of brands, the more popular brands come list on the market. It also, it helps expand the capital market ecosystem as well. So excited to see all of them. I mean, if I had to name one, I think I'd say Swiggy, just because the number of people out there who use Swiggy and Ola, of course. So Swiggy and Ola would probably be my top two, wishes in terms of them listing early on the markets.
Rajan Anandan and Nitin Kamath, thank you so much for joining us here with a very insightful conversation on the year that's gone by, but more importantly, the lens that we should use to look at 2024 and beyond. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here on the program, many thanks for watching.